It is now the time to have the press conference.
Thank you very much.
Honourable Mr. Prime Minister, dear Keir, this is a historic visit in Tirana following that of President Macron, who was the first president in the history of the Albanian-French relationships to visit Albania. You are the first prime minister in the history of relations between UK and Albania visiting Tirana on a bilateral visit that we highly appreciate on the verge of the 6th summit of the European Political Summit. I wish to especially thank you for since the day I came to the London summit, because you tasked your own people to help us with their own expertise to organize the summit in Tirana, which I hope will be at the proper level tomorrow. It is an important moment in the relationships between our two countries also, because it has never happened before that we were so much in sync for two key questions. First, on the issue of Ukraine, as two countries sharing NATO membership, as well as on the issue connected to battling illicit migration and countering criminal networks that encourage such illicit migration. I believe that with regard to the latter, we have marked an exceptional progress, whilst concerning the former, considering also the overall geopolitical situation that is in turmoil, we have deepened our cooperation and are intensely working to enhance our synergies in the area of security, and particularly in that of defense. Engagement to counter criminal and illicit migration, we have reason to be proud of what we've done so far. Figures are impressive, and I would like to seize the opportunity having you here and also having the representatives of the British media to emphasize that referring to the figures of is the right thing for the British public, instead of cultivating myths, amongst others, the myth that Albanians are a problem for the UK. Legally entered or have attempted to illegally enter the UK is several hundreds. we have pushed forward to establish the joint task force. From that moment, at the moment that we pushed for the establishment of the joint task force, the numbers were 12,000. Is quite striking, generally speaking, for us Albanians, where it is reported that 1 out of 50 Albanians in the UK is in prison. And that is actually a blatant lie that has been served as truth, whereas the true figure is 500, which is 10 times lower. 1 in 500, sorry, which is 10 times lower. I wish to also underline that I'm very proud of the work that has been done by the Albanian police and security forces that were awarded the first prize by Home Office 2 years ago for the excellent work they have done together with the respective structures of the UK, whereas last year they were not awarded the first prize, so that others did not become jealous for them being awarded the prize twice in a row. We have to accept, and we are okay with being victims of the jealousy of others. The last I wish to say is that it is high time we looked at another issue we have in the UK, with many Albanians who settled in the UK many years ago and have been integrated in the life there. But when entering the country, they used passports, or rather identities, of the citizens of Kosovo, so that they could be admitted as war refugees whilst they were fleeing a country that was facing many challenges. And they are actually living with two identities as we speak, with one identity for the UK state and one identity here in Albania. So it is an issue that could find a solution, considering that these are citizens that are fully integrated since more than 20 years now. And even more so, contribute to the socio-economic life of the UK in a very dignified way. Finally, there are 50,000 Albanian citizens with British passports contributing in the UK, and also other 50,000 others with Albanian passports that constantly contribute in such a dignified way. So it is unacceptable for us, after all this huge work done with the UK government, that Albanians continue to be stigmatized as if they were the problem of the UK, represented in this way by several media sources. Finally, we spoke with the Prime Minister about the trade exchanges. We have an increase in such exchange compared to previously, with around 27.5%. The total amount of such trade exchange is less than the budget of the Crystal Palace team. So it would be better that we increased it even further. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Prime Minister Eddie. It is my privilege to be the first British Prime Minister to come here for a bilateral meeting, and I think that is significant and reflects the closeness of the relationship between our two countries. And I'm so pleased that, having discussed this at plenum in my first week or so as Prime Minister, we're able to be here together in Albania and to have this bilateral meeting as a prelude to the EPC tomorrow. Congratulations on your election win earlier this week. And it is really significant to be here in Albania to begin what I see as the next chapter of our country's strong relationship, delivering security and growth here in Europe and, of course, in the United Kingdom. But also, for me, an opportunity to see firsthand how our two countries are working together on some of the biggest challenges that we face. So this morning, as you know, I was at the port in Durrës, where I saw our joint efforts to crack down on cross-border crime. Law enforcement from Albania, alongside law enforcement from the United Kingdom, working together on joint efforts. And as I set out in a white paper on immigration that we published on Monday, secure borders are central to our plan for change. And people want and deserve an immigration system that is fair, that works for our national interest, and that restores common sense and control to our borders. So I'm grateful, Prime Minister, for your support on this and your bold leadership on the migration issues that the continent faces. Our progress together on reducing small boat numbers has been significant. You just went through the numbers again. That is over a period, a relatively short period, quite an incredible reduction. And I think it's a signal and an example of what can be done when two countries work together in this way. Our joint migration task force, as you have always emphasised, practical, sleeves rolled up, getting on with the job rather than endless memos, is working to deter illegal migration. And our prisoner transfer agreement is returning Albanian offenders to serve their time here. Together, we've supported young people to stay and build their lives and futures in Albania. The partnership between our two nations goes well beyond our cooperation to secure our borders, and we've talked about this a lot this morning. Albania is a staunch NATO ally and a key partner in Ukraine's fight against Russian aggression. That is so important at a time like this, including, of course, your support for the training of Ukrainian troops in the UK as part of Operation Interflex. And I've been to see that training a number of times. It is truly humbling and really important example of nations, like-minded nations, working together to a common cause. And I'm delighted to announce the enhanced UK-Albania strategic partnership. Now, this partnership will boost our cooperation across defence and security. It will deter irregular migration and cross-border criminal activity, and, on top of that, maximise our potential for investment, infrastructure and growth, particularly in our vital defence industries. Which is why I'm also pleased to announce a joint statement of intent on defence industry cooperation. We will work together on the manufacture and sale of military vehicles, so another important step forward for our two countries, strengthening our national security, driving innovation and boosting economic growth for both of our nations. Now, this is a moment for European countries to step up and stand firm against Russian aggression on the continent. And later today, I will be visiting Albanian and UK troops who are working together to defend our freedoms and citizens, because the battle lines of Ukraine are the front lines of Western values. And for this bilateral meeting to be bookended by examples of our joint work on law enforcement and our joint work on troops and what we're doing in relation to Ukraine, I think is very strong evidence of the way that we are working so effectively together. But it is that defence of Ukraine that will continue, the UK will continue to lead in our efforts to support Ukraine. I am really grateful for Albania's steadfast partnership in that fight, showing leadership around the world in hosting the EPC tomorrow, where we get the opportunity to discuss this very issue in the context of European security. And we are sending a strong message at this critical moment that Europe stands united, strong abroad, secure at home, putting money in working people's pockets and deepening our partnerships with our European allies for the benefit of the people in the United Kingdom. As I say, it's a privilege to be here for this first visit. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. questions.
Mohamed Veliu from Top Channel TV. Honorable Prime Minister Starmer, during your meeting with Prime Minister Rama, did you discuss the issue of those who are considered as foreign hub in the UK to give an opportunity to your government to send away the asylum seekers or failed asylum seekers to then return them to the countries of origin? As Prime Minister Rama said, in 2022, we had a figure of 12,000 Albanians arriving in small boats, whereas we have now 94% less, 600 of them illicitly entering the country. Does your government have any plan to increase the number of visa for seasonal workers? Prime Minister Rama, how much will Albania continue to help the UK to have a similar facility to that of Italy when it comes to regular migrants in the country?
The effectiveness of the arrangements we've put in place in the last 2 to 3 years with the Joint Migration Task Force, which has led to that dramatic reduction in numbers down, as you rightly say, from 12,000, a 94% decrease. And we discussed how that work through the Joint Task Force could now be expanded to other countries in the region and how we could make it even more effective. We also discussed, coming out of my meeting, my visit this morning, how we work together on other cross-border criminal activity and how our teams share not just operations but intelligence. And I think that is where this particular model has been at its most effective. And the Prime Minister, Eddie, and I think alike in the sense that we prefer not to talk about a problem and walk around it over and over again, but to just get on, roll up our sleeves and deal with it. And that's the nature of the task force, an operational body, and some of the work I saw this morning is work I'm very keen to support, and I think it's an example to others. Thank you.
Concerning the question of replicating the model that was brought to Albania in cooperation with Italy, this is something that I've said from the outset. It is a model that takes its time to be tested. And if it works, it can be replicated, but not in Albania, in other countries of the region, where if the model results with a positive outcome, there is no reason that other countries should not offer their availability for that. I would also like to mention something that the Prime Minister touched upon. We talked about the summit slated to take place in London in October. Is it October? Yes. Under the Berlin process, where the UK is going to be the host of the process. And regardless of the fact that the Berlin process is one that has been built within the realms of the EU under the leadership of Chancellor Merkel to foster regional cooperation, the benefits of integration, including the EU1, we consider that it's going to be highly positive, and I can tell you that during the London summit, the countries of the region have a window of exchange when it comes to relations between the UK and the Western Balkans concerning economic and trade cooperation. To enhance British investments in the region, as well as concern mentioned that is the extending of this cooperation criminal activity, a regional network that is in sync with the law enforcement structures in the UK, in order to make sure that this whole area is one where the activity of criminal networks dealing in human trafficking is fully under control.
Chris.
Christopher Hope, GB News. Prime Minister Edi Rama, you sound there like you're ruling out hosting an offshore processing centre for the UK, for migrants who arrive in the UK. Is that right, or are you willing to have this model for the UK to support our attempt at dealing with this illegal migration crisis? And to you, Sir Keir Starmer, you are in talks about return hubs. We've learnt that today with a number of countries. Which countries are you talking to? And when will the first migrants be sent overseas to be processed? And will it see migrant hotels emptying more quickly than currently?
You got it right. I have been very clear since day one when we started this process with Italy that this was one-off with Italy because of our very special relation, but also the situation which makes a lot of sense. And very frank with you, by several countries if we were open to it, and we said no, because we are loyal to the marriage with Italy, and the rest is just love.
Chris, in relation to your question to me, yes, we are in talks with a number of countries about return hubs, and I see them as a really important innovation, and with the work that we've done in relation to UK Albania reduction in numbers, the work that we've done on law enforcement arrangements with other countries, the return agreements that we've put in place, the record number of returns, and what I'd like to do is add return hubs to that. We are in those talks, and therefore at the appropriate time I'll be able to give you further details in relation to it. In relation to the asylum hotels, I think it's really important to be absolutely clear as to why we have the problem that we have, and that is because the last government ran an open borders experiment, and on top of that didn't process the claims of asylum seekers, and therefore tens of thousands of asylum seekers in the UK were in limbo because they weren't processed, they couldn't be sent back, or dealt with if their application was successful. They're literally an ever-expanding pool put into hotels at taxpayers' expense. And that is the inheritance, the mess that we have to pick up. The way through that is obviously to do the work that we're doing to stop people coming illegally to the United Kingdom, which is why this summit, the work we've done with Albania and other countries is so vitally important, but also to process the claims so we can return people who shouldn't be in the United Kingdom. And I'm really pleased that we've rolled up our sleeves, got on, and now returned 24,000 people who had no right to be in the United Kingdom. That's the highest number for nearly 10 years, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris McKeon, Press Association. A question to both of you gentlemen on Ukraine. Vladimir Putin has declined to attend peace talks in Turkey today. Is there any hope for a ceasefire in Ukraine, and what is your message to Vladimir Putin?
let me take this. What's happened today is further evidence that it's Putin who is dragging his feet. It is Putin who is causing the delay in a ceasefire. Ukraine has long been clear, several months ago now, that they would have a 30-day unconditional ceasefire, and we have long said that it's Putin who is standing in the way of that peace. He was the aggressor in the first place. There's only one country that started this conflict, that was Russia, that was Putin. There's only one country now standing in the way of peace, and that is Russia, that is Putin. We had a good meeting in Kyiv last Saturday where we managed to get a whole a wide group of countries into a supportive position for a ceasefire with sanctions if not. We now have the opportunity tomorrow at the EPC to continue our work to bring about a ceasefire. But for me, this is evidence of the point I've made repeatedly, which is that it's Putin that is dragging his heels. That is why we need all nations to line up together as allies to ensure we get the ceasefire that is so desperately needed, but also to ensure that we have sanctions in place should Putin continue down this path of dragging his heels and not coming to the table for the ceasefire.
I would inform you that you are in a country that since the change of the regime from a dictatorship to democracy 35 years ago, no Russian president or prime minister has put foot, and no one from here has flight to Russia. And we don't miss it, and we are not looking to change it, frankly. But this is a long story that is related to our history with the Soviet Union and Russia. This being said, I want to add that we have been all the way on the side of Ukraine and will continue to be. We are aware that although the country might have the tallest prime minister in NATO, it doesn't have the strength and the weight of many other countries to play any type of major or determining role. But on the other hand, we should not forget that we are blessed to be born in the continent of enlightenment and in a space of humanity where the dream of perpetual peace was born, and Europe itself is a project that has been always driven for peace. So while we do everything to make sure that we have the strength to protect our freedom and our values, we also should never give up in the search for peace. And of course, sometimes it looks very unfair, but it's the nature of being Europeans and of being on the side of humanity and not of barbarism, to look for peace even with barbarians. Thank you.
Elia Zota from Clan TV. So the first question to Prime Minister Starmer. Your predecessors in government held very strong views and stances against the Albanian community. Sometimes they were very humiliating and denigrating. By not clearly making a distinction between those Albanians who live with dignity and honorably by paying taxes and being good and law-abiding citizens, and perhaps few who are involved in criminal activities. And given the fact that you are the first Prime Minister to visit Albania since we established the diplomatic relations, Is it not high time that Britain actually apologizes for the way Albanians have been treated? And Prime Minister Rama, concretely, could you tell us exactly what this agreement on defense will be focusing on? And the British Prime Minister also mentioned the manufacturing of military vehicles, but could you be more specific, please? Thank you.
Look, I think the fact that I'm the first British Prime Minister to be here in Albania having a bilateral meeting should be seen as a statement to the regard that I hold Albania and this Prime Minister, Eddie, in and the nature and strength of our relationships. And I won't comment on previous Prime Ministers in the the hard yards of actually dealing with the problems that we have to address. I'd rather not shout about a challenge and a problem. I'd rather roll up my sleeves and seriously and pragmatically get on with solving it. And that, I think, is what we've proved in the last few months and years has been a much more effective way of dealing with the issues, including the joint work we saw today on law enforcement, which deals with very real issues of cross-border crime. We can't pretend that they're not there. But then equally, the training with the troops this afternoon, which is a moment I think we're both very proud of, that our troops and militaries are working together in that way. Thank you.
Well, but we have to be fair and to not forget that it was not any British Prime Minister that did anything to offend the Albanians and to single out the Albanians. There were few other individuals that did it, but there's no excuse to ask because they were taken out from the British people by vote. So cursing the Albanians was not a good idea because the curse went back and they are now out of the parliament. So it's enough. We don't need more than that. And on the other hand, I have to say that what we have said repeatedly is that we are now in a new era, and that's why the government is in a new phase in terms of building up the and what we are doing with a great ally with an incredible knowledge, let alone the money, although they always complain, the Brits, that they don't have enough money, but I wish they knew that they are very rich. No, really. I wish they knew how rich they are. And we are very honored to have this partnership, hopefully starting with producing vehicles that will serve, of course, our common purposes. And then from there to more, the merrier. So this is the understanding. And I want to, again, underline that for us it's a big honor to have the British Prime Minister visiting our country. And as Keir said, is the most important, the most profound, and the most appreciated gesture of respect and of high consideration for our small country. So we look forward to build more on walls and make a strong building of our relation. Thank you so much, and enjoy Tirana. As I said to the Prime Minister, we are fighting to make sure tomorrow you have Albania weather, not London weather. But if it will be rain, you'll take the blame.
Thank you.